guys, I'm sorry. Um, for some reason, OBS keeps disconnecting and reconnecting, and that prematurely ends the stream. So we just gonna keep fighting through it until one of us gives in, and it's not gonna be me. Okay. So we'll just keep going and continue from where we began. Go ahead and put the links back. Oh, great. See, this is what happens when we get discombobulated. Okay, let's put the links back in the chat. First and foremost, let's put those links back in the chat. Alright, paste. That's the link to the Foresight Media channel. And playlist. No, I won't do that. Content. Playlist. Options. Get shareable link. That's all I want to do. Get a shareable link. And obviously, here we go. So once again, guys, I apologize for the stream continuing to drop. Hopefully, we'll address that in the near future. Um, and we won't continue to have these issues. Let me drop these two out of here again. Let's get back to work. Keep my eye on this guy right here. All right. All right. So. Oh, I want to make sure these. Make sure these are in their proper place. Okay. I think that's cool. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah. This is a. Alright, now we're in a good spot. Okay. So. And definitely, guys, hit me in the chat. Let me know that you're here and say hi. Say hi. Say hi, please. Say hi. Trust me. I understand nobody's more frustrated with the drops and the signal than me. And hopefully I'll be doing some things. Going to be doing making some changes incrementally along the way that should help with that type of stuff. One would hope. We're going to see. Um, but it's definitely something that we're going to want to keep fighting with and looking into. Okay. So, again, thematically, you know, it's been my man Heard that's been in the background of the covers. In fact, let me pull them up just so you can see kind of the theme that's been going on creatively, thematically with these last three covers. So on cover 6, just go to the slide. Here it goes. It's the cover of the episode 6. So you see my man Heard here in the purple, all blacked out and everything like that. Because obviously he's kind of the malevolent force behind all of the he's kind of the force behind all of the bad stuff that's going to happen in these episodes. Um, And then here in episode 7, um, again, once again, he's in the background, lurking, shadowed, um, kind of there. But now we're reversing that, and we've got Raven being the guy in shadows and kind of lurking in the background. I might move him over just a little bit. Um, just a little bit. And I think I might just cock him over just. There we go. Alright, now he makes more sense to me visually. Alright, so let's hit select. Select all three. Let's drop down the opacity about 45% on these. Alright, I'm gonna go to the pen tool. I'm actually going to, because I want to work with the Raven's character first. We're gonna start with him. Normally we would start with somebody in the front. But for some reason I'm really feeling this and I want to go ahead and kind of continue with that energy. Alright, so I'm gonna set this to 15 point. And obviously one of the great things about creating art, digital art of any kind, or any art, honestly, painting, whatever, it's a field type of thing. Go down to 12, and you just kind of go with your feelings. Like the energy right now, especially because I'm a little grumpy, um, is with Raven's character, and because that energy is there, um, I want to keep that going, because I also believe that if you know what you want to do or know what you're trying to do creatively, um, it you gotta kind of go with the flow. You can't. I know everybody says it's a process, and everybody, there's got to be a process and everything like that. And we all have processes, right? Um, but rules, in a sense, even personal rules, when it comes to like creative stuff, are made to be broken. And I think you have to be open to not being stuck to draconian or super rigid, well, this is how I always do it, type thought processes, because honestly, that affects creative in the most annoying and non-creative way, in my opinion. All right, so move that out, move that out, move that out, move that out. All right, so now that I know that's there, let's go down to a 10 point. Again, kind of, you kind of move knowing what you want. So some things I'm not even going to address creatively. Um, mm, there we go. There we go. And and again, it's just about pulling everything together. So okay, so now what I know is that this right here, and also figuring out where you're going to separate things. There's a lot of things that need separating. Again, a lot of times I'm just like some of this stuff I don't even have to ink in because I already know it's going to be covered by darkness. All right. Now this, let's separate it out. Separate out. I want to know about separate that out. So this right here, don't need that. That can go. This right here. All right. So let's make sure that we have the proper separation for the shadow areas. And this is where it gets kind of get confusing. So this is why you want to use your X's to your advantage. See, that's where and you can catch your mistakes as you're going along. And understand where changes need to be made. Let's bring that down a peg. I also like to change the size of the nib when I'm inking digitally, just because it helps me with some of these more thin areas or thin lines. I think that's is better. All right, that's there. That's there. Okay. All right. That's 8. Like that. Good question. I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna drop this. So we want those lines to go. Like that. Oops. Yeah. Just for now. Alright. So it makes more sense. Although I don't want this line to be so flat. But to have a little bit of a curve to it. Actually, I want to have a contour. We could be messy. This is where we're still allowed to be messy. And then what we'll do is we'll create little shapes within the shapes. Keep things a little, keep things a little, do a little, throw a little, just keep a little bit, there we go. Cool, alright, let's pull back a mustache. Let's go ahead and put his beard in. Where the line elements for his beard. And then cut off any lines that don't need to be there. And let's see what we got. I think that I think that answers a lot of questions. Hold on. I lost my camera for a second. Keep losing keep losing track of me, huh, buddy? I guess it's because I keep dipping my head. Let's go back. Let's look at these details a little bit more. Get some more details in there. No, let's do that. All right. Again. So that comes out there. Bam. And then sometimes you'll see me do hash lines and other art as well. And everybody has their own kind of approach to this. Sometimes I like to put my hash lines in ahead of time. Sometimes I don't. It's kind of, once again, the feel thing. It's kind of just a call. It's when you feel um, is most important for the what you're trying to do as a artist. So there we go. And just again, just kind of figuring all of this stuff out creatively. Yeah. Okay. But you see how things kind of go. So Jesus Christ, still just giving me the itch, giving me the blues. What we working on? All right, but yeah. So let's pull back a little bit. You kind of see, just from an inking perspective, this is kind of the shell of what we've got. Now, there's a couple ways I can handle this. I could put a layer up under here, and I could just do a fill, but I don't like to do that because I like the blacks in on these vector layers, these vector blacks. So what I like to do is I like to pick a larger. So I'll pick, like, say for instance, I'll pick like a 30-point nib, and then just come back in and fill in with linear aspects. Just kind of paint it in vector. Um, and yeah, you can do that, and it works. It actually works really well. So this is what I, and then like you see the X's that I drew, I'm not even erasing them. I'm just painting over them because they're, and then where the, we all know this is all shadow, so it's easy to just kind of come on in. Let's bring it down a little bit. And then if I see a line that needs to be addressed or anything like that, I can address it. There we go. Then if you notice something like, okay, like had this shadow bump, if I allowed it to, that shadow would have bumped into the rest of would have bumped into the other shadow. And it may have, it may ended up cool, but I didn't want it to bump right there. So I can just draw in the correcting area. Then like right here, I think this is cool. I'll just go ahead and fill that in. We just need where the the ear was at. And then if I need to, I just put a little, make sure I don't go too far. And again, and that's the one thing I like about when I'm doing shadows like this as opposed to putting a raster layer up under and just dumping. It's because I can still make adjustments to the shadow areas as I go in vector. So now I can go back to a little bit bigger because this is a bigger space I want to cover. Is it a little bit more work? Yeah, it's a little bit more work, but hey, I figure why not? Um, let me see. There we go. And we are filling in the beard area as well. And then I already know what I'm gonna do for that. So go ahead. What I try to do is if I try not to go over the edges that I've set for myself, and then I just intuitively make little adjustments. Like I didn't mark that out, but then I noticed I want to keep that separate, a separation where the beard meets. It doesn't have to be perfectly separated. I think that that sense of imperfection needs to be in there, especially when you're working digitally. People always want to say, "Oh, well, you you can correct any mistake that you make," which is true. You can't, but I don't think you're supposed to correct every mistake that you make. I think you're supposed to, you know, let them breathe a little bit. Let the art breathe. Let the art be art. Art's not meant to be perfect. Uh, it's meant to be beautiful and expressive. And that's what we're trying to get here. Nice, expressive art. So, so once again, just want to thank everybody that stopped by, that's stopping by and watching. Please feel free to, if you got questions, hit me up in the comments. Honestly, I told you everybody, just say hi. And please, everybody, hit that like button. Hit the like button. Honestly, that again, that tells. Not only does it tell YouTube that you like me, but apparently, if you hit the like button, if people that are into this type of stuff see that you like this type, like are liking the stream, they are likely to come visit and become a part of the community. But we do want to hear from you. I do want to hear from you. And, again, I can multitask, so let's talk about some things. There's a lot of stuff going on um, in the world right now, um, in the world of comics and art, in the world of art just in general. Um, so we just want to, yeah, just having a conversation, just have some fun. There's a lot going on. Um, last Saturday I reacted to um, some YouTube videos. Y'all, I got copyrighted. My favorite one was the one that got me copyrighted. So I got a notification the other day. It said, Mr. Gordon, um, you can't show certain parts of your stream or your video, certain parts of the world because, well, you got a copyright strike or you got copyrighted. So I don't know. I don't think it's a copyright strike per se, but they did claim my stuff. Um, and basically what they said was you can't show it on this part of the world. So um, I actually have to figure out what I'm gonna do with that going forward. So I don't think, like I said, most of the indie animation that we're gonna cover, I don't think those guys will have a problem. Probably will want people to react to the art. So this may not be, you know, a common thing, but some of these productions, those are big production houses or big enough production houses where I get it. It makes a little bit of sense. I may not like it, um, but I get it. I get it. I'm gonna go with a darker line right there. No, actually, a darker line on top, like so. And like that. There we go. Alright. There we go. Alright. Alright. Let's come back in. Cool. Yeah, this is where it gets a little bit tedious. And again, you when you're doing this type of stuff, you're just kind of making game time decisions. You're just making calls as you're going. You set up the basis for everything, and then you just go ahead and you just kind of push it to its natural conclusion. Best way to put it. So, and let's put it at 25. No, it's too high. Put it 12. There we go. Much more control. And again, it's all about the amount of control you wish to have. It's a little bit less controlled with the the, the bigger brushes. It's a little bit more control with the smaller brushes. Um, yeah, there we go. Yep, just kind of putting, just figuring all of this type of stuff out, and where you may want some separation and that type of stuff. And a lot of times, um, you kind of figure this out as you go along. Kind of, you're kind of on this journey by yourself with this art. So as I'm just kind of looking at the dreads and adding in the dark areas, I may say, I don't like that area of white. All right, okay, that makes sense. And again, I kind of try not to box myself in when I'm doing this type of stuff because I know eventually I'm going to make certain changes. Um, so I can always want to keep my options available to me. I'm starting to see spaceships on Bankhead. Yeah. See, can't play no music just yet because YouTube gets acting a little funky when you got a little music in the background. So, um, so we trying to avoid the police. We don't need the police coming to the door. Because YouTube police will come to the door and they will knock on it and be like, hey, let us in. And then you gotta be like, no, 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 no. So here, let's go with a lot steeper grade since this is so much more shadowed out. Again, we're just pushing, 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 pushing. There we go. There we go. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's go back big picture now. And there we go. Big picture. This is what it looks like. And we are, so that's what it looks like. So now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some color to this guy. Well, first and foremost, we're gonna go ahead and put him in his own folder. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in his own folder. Raven. There we go. Shift. Oh, oops. Oops, not the paper. Put him in his own folder. There. Now he's in his own folder. So now if I can just make that folder disappear when I need to. All right. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. All right. So that's what it's gonna look like. Oh, so um. get back in here with the eye. So most of the time when I'm doing the inks, I just normally do the blacks. But the one thing I do the blacks. It sounds so discriminatory. Is I do add the highlights um, on top, and the reason being is because I know that I'm not going to use the I'm not going with a when you do the pupils of the eyes, you're not going with a pure white. Mm, yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Mm, there we go. So yeah, so I know that's not going to be a pure white. So that's the highlight on the eye is going to hang out or shine or stand out a lot better that way. So let's go back here. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna magic wand the, and then shift, and then okay, no, we don't need to shift thing. Nope. All right, and we are going to invert select it, and now let's grab. So with these guys with these faces and shadows, what I've been doing is a little bit different of a process. I need to put a layer up under there. So first things first, we're gonna put a raster layer up under there. Um, I'm gonna drop this purple in. I'll be using this purple for a second as a kind of my base. Just dropping in a color base. And if you notice, once I put the bucket onto, so this is a raster layer up under here, right? So let me show you real quick. Reduce my big head, but reduce my big head just for a second. All right, so this layer right here, this layer right here, that's a raster layer. Okay, it's not vector, right? Um, you can't use the paint bucket on the vector layers in Clip Studio. So if you want to use the paint bucket, you have to put a raster layer up under it to use the paint bucket. So in order to cover all the turf, something wrong thing. Let's go back. So to cover the most turf, I put a raster layer up under here, and then obviously you see what happens. Now you're gonna say, well, you didn't get all of that. I know. What I'm about to do is first, I'm gonna go ahead and move that out, the black line. So now you kind of see where everything's at. Look at all these. So when you do that with these vector lines, when you put the raster layer up under there and you use the paint bucket to fill in, you're going to have all these areas of white where the paint bucket either didn't hit or it didn't fill all the way to the edge. So what I do is I learned this from another YouTuber, because you always learn on YouTube. I go here. This is my content. This is the correct line tool, and I always keep it to. I put it to adjust line width, and then I make sure that it's set to thicken. Um, and then I just go to the brush size and I just jack that homeboy up. Yeah, just we'll do 250. And what it does is it thickens the line, right? So then let's take it up to 800. So the purple fills in those white spaces, and you'll see the difference in just a second. Now, do I have to fill everything